Hey y'all, we have launched our very own merch on the Letters 2 Media merch store. We have a bunch of good looking t-shirts and hoodies. If you want your own Haddonfield Horror merch, click on the link in the description.
Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
I'm Maria.
and today we're reviewing Stay Alive, released in 2006, written by William Brent Bell and Matthew Peterman, and directed by William Brent Bell. Maria, can you do us the honor of giving the people the plot summary?
After the brutal death of a friend, a group of friends find themselves in possession of a video game called Stay Alive, a blood-curdling true story of a 17th century noblewoman known as the Blood Countess. After playing the game when they know they shouldn't, however, the friends realize that once did I re- after playing the game when they know they shouldn't, however, the friends realize that once they die in the game, they die for real. As their numbers begin dropping, and as they begin dying in the ways they died in the game, the remaining friends realize they must defeat the Blood Countess or accept their fates.
Stay Alive, a movie with an interesting concept that didn't really didn't do it well. It reminds me of Bye Bye Man, where like the concept is like there, but they just didn't know what to do with it because like the whole idea, like you die in a video game, you die in real life the exact same way. That's cool as shit. And I remember
Yeah.
being a kid and loving this movie, and I thought it was so fucking good. And I was always mad because I was like, damn, like even on the basic level, video games didn't fucking work like that back then. Like the way that they were playing video games, like didn't work like that. And so it's like this is cool, but then now I'm just like something's missing. And I remember watching the movie a lot when I was a kid, and then watching it now for the podcast is like I have two different opinions and two different feelings. But what about you, Tuan?
Yeah, so I remember watching this movie when I was younger, and I definitely remember liking it just because horror movies and video games, two things that I liked at the time. So, like, putting those together for something was like a cool concept in my head. And but I definitely remember at the time I did not find this movie scary though, and even way more now it's like not scary at all for what they were going for. I think probably out of anything in this movie, the scariest scene was like the beginning, but outside of that, like there wasn't much going on. Like they really tried to like sell like the atmosphere and stuff, but it just was not like all meshing together like upon like seeing it now. And and I don't know, like it just also kind of comes off a bit corny as well. It comes off a bit corny and like the execution of it all, and it's really one of those things where like Mark mentioned, like the concept was there, but they didn't really do enough with it. And honestly, like I feel like this idea would be a bit better executed nowadays with one as big as gaming is, and then it could also take like so many different routes with how they could go about this concept in a sense, especially when you have like anime inspired by the same idea, like Sword Art Online, stuff like that, where if you like die in the game, you die in real life type of thing. So I feel like they could definitely draw from a lot of different things now. Um, but I mean, I give them credit for the idea and actually going through with it.
Maria, what about you?
Um, I mean, yeah, I guess it was interesting to hear like the plot, the whole video game thing. It was a really cheesy movie. Like really corny. There's the acting was just not it for me. Um,
Truly,
it was just like a very 2000s movie, like for real, like very 2000s. I wished, like, I think the only scene that I thought was really scary was like at the end when the Blood Countess was like distorting herself, after she was in her real body. If they would have kept her like that throughout the movie, I think the movie would have been like better. Um, I don't know why they were going with the whole video game in real life route, especially when like Swink was giving Hutch inventory through the game. I was like, no way. Um, I don't think the ending honestly made any sense. Um, don't really know why they used the Blood Countess as a premise for the movie. I feel like they should have done something else. I don't know. I just I barely watched I mean, I did watch the movie, but I couldn't even like pay attention to it. It was just basic, honestly. It just like it could have been worse, I guess. But it didn't hit.
It could have been worse means it could have been Bye Bye Man, but it's like it's a step above that slightly. And when you say this is a 2000s movie, like the cast alone is like the who's who of 2000s TV shows. I mean, you have the blonde chick, she was on the OC for like a couple seasons. The brunette chick was like one of the main characters on One Tree Hill. Then Frankie fucking Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle. It's like all these fucking people who are just like around in shit that you saw in the 2000s were in this movie, and most of them were good actors. I just don't know what happened,
Yeah.
and it's like there are so many scenes that just didn't make sense, and there's so much that was like unexplained, and like yeah, them. I think they used the Blood Countess because she's like a New Orleans. I think she's a New Orleans like legend or folklore. So I guess that tied in because they're in New Orleans, but also like not really. To be honest, like I wish the movie would have just been like her in the 18 or whatever century she was in, killing people. That would have been a movie that would have been somewhat better. But we're not reviewing the movie. We're not giving our caches or passes or little reviews yet. So I don't want to jump the gun. But so I want to ask, were there any scenes that stood out to you guys? Good, bad, or indifferent? Maria?
Good. I think was just that last scene. When the Countess was in her body and like her face was just all like long. I thought that was really good. Um, I didn't like the scene where Hutch was telling people, or he was telling his friends, like, guys, it's a video game that's killing us. And then October was like, yeah, and I think it's the ghost of Elizabeth Bathory. And fucking Hutch was like, that sounds ridiculous. Like, are you fucking like? Uh, it just peeved me so much. Like, how is it that a 17th century ghost is out here killing people more ridiculous than a video game killing people? Like, that makes no fucking sense to me. But whatever. I guess. Um, I don't know. That scene really pissed me off because it's like, how are you not gonna believe her, but you want people to believe you? Like, what you said makes no fucking sense. I don't know. Whatever. I wish we would have seen the way that cop died. I feel like the way like his death in
Right?
the game was pretty brutal, but then like they just pan out like out of his truck and you just see blood and that was it. And it's like, oh, I guess. You know. The CGI, whatever that was, did this movie like no favors.
Mm-mm.
They definitely should have stick to like practical effects. That would have been a lot
Yeah.
better.
Like
Um
the CGI and the faculty looks better than this shit.
yeah. Yeah. Um I think that's it actually. I don't know, this movie just wasn't it felt very safe. Like whoever made this movie wasn't sure about the movie, so they were like, let's just put little basic tropes and scenes in here just to like, you know, not do too much. That's how this movie feels like.
What about you, Tuan? Oh wait, let me redo that. What about you, Tuan? Any scenes that stood out, good, bad, or indifferent?
One scene I will say I did like the like opening like sequence and stuff. I would say out of most of the scenes like in the rest of the movie, it was the only part that kind of um well, I don't want to say scared me, but it had like a good like ambiance to it and everything with the way that I think it was Loomis how he like saw the bodies of like his roommate and then the girl in the house, and then he eventually got like hung himself, and it like then they like panned to the show him in the video game how it was like mirroring that. I thought like that like whole sequence was like nice, but besides that, there weren't really many other shots that I liked in this movie because I don't know the. I feel like they were trying too hard to like put us in like that horror ambiance with the way they like color graded everything to make it look like super moody and stuff, and it just looks. It doesn't look good. like like looking back at it and like thinking about it like they I just feel like they whoever was like editing this movie like in post production they just like told them to make it a horror movie or make it look like a horror movie or what they thought a horror movie was, and that's how like they just like made all the shots look because it looks void of color and stuff like that, and it just doesn't look nice, especially when like the game is like obviously it's not like super colorful, but like the game have like more like color going on in it than like the actual world. So I mean, like if you wanted to like make them kind of look the same, I would go based off that since that's what they're like living in, I guess you could say. Um, and switching off to scenes I didn't like, I do agree with Maria. I wish we would have seen what the death scene was like for the detective. But I also will say that's a scene that I liked because he was an annoying character. At every time that we saw him. So when he finally died, I was like, yes, we needed this. So I do wish there was a little more to that. And trying to think, yeah, I don't think there were anything else that I liked or disliked. I was kind of I was honestly indifferent about a lot of stuff looking at this movie back now.
For me, the whole setup of Phineas's death in the middle of the road, like it could have been so much better. Cause like you see it happening in the game where the carriage and shit, like the character in the game is in the middle of the road, he's in the middle of the road. You see the carriage, you see all of that. It just feel like the setup seemed like it was going somewhere, but it just didn't. Like the payoff wasn't.
Hmm.
It didn't do it for me, and that happened. That was like with most of it. It just it wasn't happening for me, and every scene that explained like the game and the murder, like it just didn't. I felt like you're explaining it, but I'm still not understanding it. And then the ending scene with like the mass production of the video game still happening because like were you supposed to believe that the Countess's ghost was behind the
I
game being
never
made?
understood that.
Like, so you didn't understand. What about you, Maria? What was your thoughts on that ending? Because I was like, is the ghost behind the production? Like, what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. I just looked at it and I was like, that is so stupid. Like, it was so dumb. Like, I didn't know what the hell the whole point of it was. Like, is her ghost in the fucking in the game? Like, how does that work? And
Yeah, I'm like, is the ghost like? Did she found the company? Did she possess somebody to get the game going? Like, I don't like there was more like that ending confused me, and it just made me like, okay, now I need origin stories on the fucking company that's producing the game because now I'm even more lost.
yeah, it's just so confusing. I was just like, ugh, I guess.
It didn't. The ending didn't help its case, but you're right. That scene with her face, with her body and stuff being distorted, that was great. That was like the one like bright spot in this like horrible movie. And okay, it was just I didn't believe that this group of people were all friends.
That's so true.
I just
Yeah.
the group it just did not match. Like if you're going based off aesthetics, they don't look like they would be friends. If you go based off like jobs and like everything that you just like at first glance base a group of friends off of, they don't got it. It just felt very weird. The chemistry wasn't there for anybody romantically or like platonically close friends. Like, and that guy didn't hear his roommates dying.
Huh? I guess not.
Okay, and we're gonna switch over to kills because I have a complaint about the kills. So we were told that how you die in the game is how you die in real life. So his roommates or whatever died in like a sexual position. So I'm like, so y'all decided to have y'all game character avatars fuck,
Hey, they was playing Sims, I
and they
guess.
and like what? I'm like, what the? You're in this like horror game, and you decide, oh, our Sims are gonna fuck, and I'm just like, this is how they died. And then why were all the cool deaths like done off screen? Made no sense. And the office scene was just. Tuan, were there any kills that stood out for you? Good, bad, or indifferent?
Honestly, none. Like they, none like stood out really, but none were like bad either. They just like were. I guess I am indifferent because like none of the ones that I saw, like, of course, since this was PG-13, like they didn't like show everything. But even in like some other like PG-13 movies, I can at least see something. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool, like the setup or whatnot. Um, maybe I would say like October's because it was like simple, but she did piss me off when she tried to shoot the ghost with a nail gun. So like,
Right? I was like screaming, like, are you fucking kidding me? It's a ghost.
like that pissed me off. But yeah, maybe like hers just because she like just like I don't know, but everyone else's like didn't really do anything for me. I thought that like the Phineas, the way that like he died, like even though we saw it and we were like assuming that he was gonna die that way because of where he was and what happened to his character. I don't know, like it just didn't really do anything for me. We didn't, and the detective's death was underwhelming because we didn't really get to see it.
Maria, what about you?
I mean, they were all bad. Like the scenes that I like the scene in the beginning that's supposed to be like really bloody, the boyfriend and the girl. You saw like 10 seconds of it, like 2 seconds, and then it was gone, and then it never went back. And it was like it's like it's like what was the point of that? Like they show it to you, and then you can't even like take in what happened. You all you see is blood, and then it's gone. Like it makes no sense. Um, Yeah, like none of the scenes stood out to be honest. They were all just kind of like basic and they were all just kind of like I guess and I don't know. This movie just didn't do it anything for me.
So now that we're done with that, let's talk about some of the characters. Let's talk about the two detectives, Detective Theobald and Detective King. Tuan, what are your thoughts on the detectives?
Yeah, Detective King was he was he was definitely like pissing me off. Like I hate when movies have that like snarky ass like detective or like police officer um who like either is like they're acting like another antagonist for our characters. Like we know like the character like hasn't done anything, but they just still have to like be there to be like some sort of like force, I guess, to like for them to like go through or whatever. But he was just not like okay. Obviously, the situation is crazy. Like before, just putting that out there, like video game that kills you. Like I like sure you hear that as like honestly anybody you're gonna like think well, like these people are fucking crazy, but um he was just like so quick to just thinking, "Oh, you live close by here. Like, oh, did you do it? Did he kill him?" Even his like partner was like, "Yo, like he's basically like chill," and he was just like kind of always like being like kind of the aggressor in it, or like even when they got to like the scene with Phineas and King like wanted to play the game. I'm like, bro, first of all, we're at a crime scene. Why are you like getting on the game? And second of all, like at this point, like this is like this the one this isn't like your property, like it's just like little stuff like that where he was like very annoying, and I just kind of hate that archetype they do with like some cops in movies. And as far as Detective Thibodeau, or Thibodeau, however you pronounce it, I didn't really have any qualms or issue with him. um he was like obviously the more reasonable one of the two, and was trying to like hear them out as much as he could until like King actually died, which is when he, had to take action, of course. So he was of the like the lesser of like the two evils in that like sense of like police and everything.
Yeah, I have no thoughts. What about you, Maria? You have any thoughts on the detectives?
I mean, I agree with everything Tawan said. Like, he was so aggressive towards Hutch. Like, you see this guy's upset that his friend died. Plus, he has witnesses that have him as at his house. Like, and he was very aggressive. And yeah, how is he gonna start playing a game while in a crime scene? Like, I don't know. The guy was a weirdo.
Well, Maria, what are your thoughts on Phineas?
He was funny, I guess. Um, I mean, yeah, he was funny. He was like a dick, which I thought was kind of like, I guess every friend group has to have one. Honestly, the only thing that Phineas stood out to like about Phineas that stood out to me was just that he was funny. He had a lot of really funny comebacks. Um, didn't really miss him when he died. Didn't really care about him dying.
Tawan, what are your thoughts on October?
I thought they were trying really hard to make us like think October was like this like goth girl, especially with the name. Like the goth girl is named October. I was like, okay, who came up with that one? Smart guy. Okay. Um, but like she was fine. And I like the actress because I've seen her in some other stuff. I mainly remember her from John Tucker Must Die, which I liked. I love that movie. um, and so I thought like she was fine for what she was given, but you could definitely like tell they were leaning more towards like Hutch and Abigail. So on like certain parts, like um, they just really weren't giving October much to do. Even though she got a couple things to do, like getting Swink out the apartment and such when it was time when the police were like coming because they thought um, they were in on King dying and things like that. But besides like little moments, she didn't really get much time to do anything, and she was more so just kind of like giving us the not the story, but giving us the like background and plot points because she was really the main person looking into the Elizabeth Bathory information.
She was the character that let me down the most because I love Sophia Bush. I watched her in One Tree Hill. I loved her in John Tucker Must Die. I loved her in pretty much every show she's been in. And I'm just like, girl, did you forget how to act while you were on this set? Because what the fuck is going on? And her and Phineas was supposed to be like the same age or whatever. Like, baby, no, because he looked way older than she did. It just, I didn't get brother and sister like sibling vibes. Like,
Nah,
she's the one who didn't fit for me. She didn't fit with like this group of like people.
yeah, she seemed like she was
Like,
like older than them, and like she wouldn't be with like around them.
these are like your brother, your dorky brother's friends. Like,
Yeah,
you don't seem like you hang out with these
I
people.
would get like step
But
siblings before like siblings.
right, former step siblings. Like, we wouldn't even talk like that anymore. We just here for the money, and that's it. But Maria, what are your thoughts on Swink?
I don't know. Like, Swink was just kind of like, I guess he was supposed to be like the nerdy guy in the group. But like Frankie's acting was just so weird. Like with the character, like he was at times it was pretty good compared to the other actors, but at times he was just kind of trying too hard. And I did actually like the scene when he came back, and saved Hutch. Like, I enjoy Frankie being the hero in this. Um, but like, I don't really I don't like it's like his characters just didn't have much impact until the end. Like sometimes I forgot he was there um until the end when he was like when he wanted to be the decoy and when he figured everything out. Um it was okay. I mean, like when given the spotlight, I guess he was a good character, but they didn't give him the spotlight like cuz technically Hutch was supposed to be the protagonist. Um Yeah, I mean, I'm indifferent to all these characters, I guess, including Swink.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I remember the commercials and the trailers, and I actually watched a few to prepare. Frankie Muniz is like featured heavily in all the promotional material. Like he's the one you see on the posters. He's the one you see in the trailers. He's the one who got all the billboards. Like they were pushing him because Malcolm in the Middle was so popular. So going into the movie, like I thought Swink was gonna be like the big deal. So then watching the movie and seeing that Swink is like the fucking sidekick was a huge letdown for me. But what about you, Tawan? What are your thoughts on Swink?
I do agree with Maria that like it was nice for his character like towards the end to be like the hero in that sense with like the roses, which um what's the word I'm looking for? Which I don't know. It did it didn't make sense to me when it showed him dead in the game because he died with the roses, and aren't the roses supposed to be like their lives or save them? Which we saw like them using them like in their real life to like fight like the back on the ghosts and stuff or to not die. But since he was in a full rose bush, I feel like he shouldn't have died in the game, which I mean we see he didn't die in real life, but I don't know, we know it was a fake out, but I don't know, it just wasn't properly set for me, I guess. um Besides that though, I thought he was fine, but I definitely didn't buy him as like their like the tech guy or like the guy in the chair as they call them sometimes. Like he definitely wasn't selling that persona for me. Um but I like that he got to come through at the end and he didn't die.
Well, let's keep it going, Tawan. What are your thoughts on Abigail?
I thought Abigail was so boring. Like she was so like cookie cutter to me, and like I did not find anything interesting about her. Uh and I'm not familiar with the actress that played her either, so I can't like even compare her to anything else that I may have like seen her in. But she was like not doing anything for me in this movie, and like could have been like replaced with like any like other person, and it probably would still be the same. Or I like wouldn't notice that it was someone new, because I don't know, she felt like really stiff in the way that she was acting, and I feel like they were trying to get her to come across as like shy or something like that. But I just wasn't getting that vibe. It was not coming across like the way I guess they were directing her to be. So maybe it was like a director decision, or maybe it was just her acting. But she was not doing anything for me in the role, and she was kind of just like, I don't want to say like sidekick, but she was, brought into it because of Loomis's death at the beginning, and thrown into the rest of this with the group and all. But after that point, like she wasn't given much else to do besides just being there for Hutch, for someone for him to talk to.
Yeah, I agree. Abby, I didn't, I forgot Abby was there. Like honestly, I thought when I was seeing, I thought she was October sometimes, but then I was like, wait, no, I think she has black hair. Like I honestly have no idea why Abby was there. Like, yeah, her character didn't add anything to anyone. Like her being the new person to the group didn't help. Also, yeah, why the hell is this girl taking pictures at a funeral? Like people are, I don't know. I thought that was super weird, especially because when she took a picture of Hutch first, she was like, "Oh, sorry, it's just that everybody else is crying and you're not." Like, okay, people died. I don't know. I feel like she was supposed to give off that whole like quirky girl vibe, and it was just not
Yes, it was
it.
not it. Like that's what it was. That's the word I was looking for. Like quirky kind of type, but like shy. But it was not coming across right for me with her character.
No, it wasn't. And yeah, and she was boring. Like she just didn't add anything. Like she was just like I felt like she was only supposed to be there for like the last couple scenes where Hutch had to, you know, try to save her, or when like no, or no, I think she like it felt like she was only supposed to be there when Swink figured out the whole like, oh, it's a video game and I can do this and blah blah blah, and it's like I don't know, her character made no sense. If they literally cut her out, I know we say this about other characters, but I mean it for real. If they cut her out of the movie, nothing in the movie would change. Like nothing would change. It would literally be the same movie with probably less scenes, and that's it.
Honestly,
Like she,
you're right.
yeah, she added nothing. Like and I know we say that, but like if you, but if people were to believe like I know we say that a lot about different characters, but like we mean this for real right
Yeah,
now. Like she added
and I
nothing.
no, I was gonna say I think honestly they should have swapped her in October. They
Yeah.
should have swapped their characters and not like the roles that they were given, but like just what they had them do. And like because I feel like October and being at the end with them instead of her makes more sense in my head.
Yeah, like I liked October, and because I know like Hutch, because first of all, Hutch is like a horrible protagonist. Like that man did nothing. All he did was figure out about the game, but then like October did everything else. Like
Yep.
October found out about who it was. She found out how to break the curse. She did everything. Hutch was just like I don't know. I don't know. I hate Hutch. Like that man is so goddamn. I wish he died. I don't know, but yeah, like like they should have switched October and Abigail, because she did nothing. All she did was just drive them around.
Well, since you were already going a little tiny rant about Hutch, why don't you kick us off? What are your thoughts on Hutch?
God, I hate Hutch. He was so he did. I feel like he did nothing either until the very end. Like, sure, he figured out the whole it's the video game, blah blah blah. Like I guess. But then like when October was like, "Oh, I think I know who the ghost is." He was just like, "That's crazy. That sounds nuts." I like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now?" Fuck. I hate that man. Like he didn't want to believe October. Like you make no goddamn sense, first of all. But and his acting, the actor's acting was so bad for Hutch. Like he did well in Hutch when Hutch had to be like emotionless, but when Hutch had to like show despair and cry for his friends. It just wasn't. He just wasn't doing it well. I don't know. It was kind of like it was kind of weird. I think it was kind of weird. Um, don't really. I just don't understand why he was the protagonist, especially because towards the end, he had to like. I mean, I guess he did technically kill the Blood Countess, but then he didn't like leave the room, and then Swing came and saved him, and I was like, what, like, Hutch, what are you doing? Like I don't know. I don't like Hutch. I just they definitely should have moved some of these like characters around, and I think it would have been like a good movie.
Tuan, what about you? What are your thoughts on Hutch?
Big agree that Hutch was not a good like protagonist for us to follow along with. Um, Mainly in a lot of things that Maria said, in that he didn't like provide much for us to like follow along with him with. He was like just given a lot of his information to make inferences on what like should happen next, and didn't really do much of like the research to actually figure out what what's the word I'm looking for. Did much of the research to actually figure out like what they need to do to like in order to survive. And he was kind of just like pulled along for the most part. Like like if we mentioned, Abigail was the driver, Phineas like he was the gamer, October was the researcher, Swink was the tech guy, and then you have Hutch, who is just a guy. Like he doesn't like he doesn't have anything else. He's supposed to be the guy or like the protagonist, but he didn't like do much to show that that was like his role in the movie, or more so they didn't give him enough to like be that role in this movie. And besides like his like trauma from when he was a kid of like the fire and stuff that happened with him, uh there wasn't much else to his character, um besides that, because they really just had that there so they could bring it back up at the end of the movie, which anybody could have saw like a mile away. As soon as like he said that, like you can just think, oh, this is going to come back later, and it did. But he didn't provide he didn't provide anything for us to like stick with him on, or like why I should be like rooting for him. Of course, like I want the protagonist to like stay alive, like stay alive. But um if he had died, I honestly wouldn't have cared. Or if he sacrificed himself, I'd have been like, oh, I just would have been okay. But he didn't do anything else to um, prove himself. To like prove himself, I guess you could say.
Let's talk about the Countess. Now, I don't know what the beef was with the Countess. I don't know why this whole video game was like revolves around her and her story. I feel like we needed more of her backstory because it just left so much unsaid that I'm kind of confused. But what about you, Maria? What are your thoughts on the Countess?
Honestly, when I was young, I was like obsessed with the Countess, so I know like a bit about like her folklore. And like, I mean, I just like she wasn't scary in the movie. Like she was just kind of like you don't see her actively killing people. They kind of just die the way they died in the game, and that's it. And you don't really see her until like the end. It's just literally that one scene with Hutch when she's in her body and she starts to like deform, and like, but that's it. Like anything else than that, like, yeah. And like I totally see what you mean. You definitely don't get anything of her, and the thing is, like, her backstory, it's like they call her the Blood Countess for a reason, because she used to like, or according to rumors, allegedly, she would like round up young women and like kill them and drain their blood in order for her to look young. But they don't really mention that in the movie. But it would have been a really good premise, like, and um, I feel like they could have done so much with her, like with her folk, with like with her story, and they didn't. I don't know, this movie, they just failed in a lot of ways, and I think they definitely did not do her justice. Like, this woman was feared, like her punishment for supposedly, but her punishment for like killing all these young women was just them locking her away in a tower. Like, like they like people feared her. And I feel like they definitely just, I don't know. This movie just butchered everything, I guess.
Tuan, what about you? What are your thoughts on the Countess?
Yeah, I don't think I have many thoughts on the Countess, unfortunately, mainly just due to the like I don't think there was enough like lore given. Like I think I just got more from Maria than besides what they gave me in the movie. And like with all that in mind of like the character and like her being like based on like real Countess who was like a serial killer allegedly, I don't know. I'd probably rather watch something like that instead of what we got here. And back to what you even said at the beginning, Mark. This like why even like yes they like you know they're in like New Orleans and stuff, but like why is there a video game based on this doesn't seem like something that a video game would be based on. um it doesn't really make sense. And I do think in like the unrated version we meet like the game developer of the movie. I mean, I said the movie of the game and things of that matter, but we don't get that in the actual in the theatrical cut, which is mostly available, which is the one that I watched. So we don't know like why this game was like being developed or why it was developed with the like the spirit of the Countess attached to it. And she was just not she was just not really doing anything for me. Like I will agree towards the end I like that how they like showed her like the actual like how the Countess looked like in that ghost form with like her face like stretched and stuff like that. That looked cool, but besides that there really wasn't much else to go off of. And also like who were the extra like ghosts and stuff that the Countess were sending off? Are those people that she killed, or were they just like figments of the game because they were put into the game? Like there's a lot of unanswered stuff with the Countess and the game as a whole.
Yeah, like you said, I learned more about the Countess from Maria just now than I did from the movie, and I did see the director's cut that has like the developer and like the author or whatever, and it still didn't answer much. And what I needed to happen was like either the game developer or like one of the two, if they were like one of her descendants, and like it just been like passing down like generation. We're rich and we're successful because our ancestor is doing all this crazy stuff as a ghost still, or we're keeping her memory alive, or we're trying to do something. It just would have. There needed to be a reason why they used the Countess as the antagonist. Like their explanation just didn't make sense. Like I needed to know why the Countess is like. You can't have Freddy Krueger killing a bunch of kids on Elm Street specifically, and not tell us that he's doing that because the parents of Elm Street burned him alive because he was killing kids on Elm Street. Like you need like you don't have to give us the entire backstory, but you have to give us something, and they gave us nothing. But before we hop into our final review, Tuan, can you give the people the behind the scenes info with
Yes.
that?
So Stay Alive was made on a budget of $20 million and it brought in a box office of $27.1 million. A little bit of interesting facts. This remains the only slasher movie to be distributed by Disney via their Buena Vista Pictures subsidiary. The film's supernatural villain, Countess Elizabeth Bathory, was a real person, known for bathing in the blood of virgins to maintain youth. In real life, however, she lived in Hungary from 1560 through 1614, not New Orleans, in which wasn't even founded until 1718. The haunted house from the video. Oh wait, let me say it again. The haunted house from the video game was an exact replica from Sega's The House of the Dead, released in the 90s. Filming took place in May to June of 2005, wrapping just 2 months before Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans. This was the last. Messing up. This was the last major film project to shoot there for nearly a year afterwards. A director's cut was released with additional 15 minutes worth of footage. Much of it had previously been cut at the behest of the studio to obtain a PG 13 rating. The extended version includes James Haven and Alice Krieg as the creator and author of the game. Their parts were completely removed from the theatrical version. Despite the movie being entirely about a killer video game, it was never adapted into a real life game like so many horror movies have been. A bit of critics' reactions. The film currently sits at a 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. Variety concluded, seldom is there anything close to real passion or panic on display here from cast members. Entertainment Weekly gave the film a D minus and commented this dopey movie keeps flouting its own rules so that one character who dies in the game gets to live, while poor suckers who get off for real even though we never saw their game overs. And Newsday commented that Stay Alive spends a lot of the time inside the video game system, and what will terrify the audience very early on is the realization that there's better acting in the video game than on the big screen. And the critical consensus was that it had a cool premise that was wasted in a lackluster execution. Oh,
Damn, they just rambled
new
on.
Newsday went crazy. Oh man, nah, I agree though.
Yeah, like the premise was cool. It just I don't know. Like I don't know who the hell edited the movie. I don't know who the hell directed it for them to look at it and be like, yes.
Someone was slacking on the job, and some shit just didn't go the way as planned. But enough of those people. What about us? Maria, Tuan, do we cash or pass? Stay alive. Maria?
I'll pass. This was I mean it wasn't like again, we've seen worse. We've seen ridiculous horror movies. This one was just boring. Like I don't know. There's just nothing that really catches your attention, and I hate how like they had so much potential with the Blood Countess's backstory, and they just misused it. They had so much potential with the whole video game idea, and misused it. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know who the hell okayed this movie, but they need maybe they need. I mean, hopefully they're not still doing that, but So I'll pass.
Tuan, do you cash or pass?
Yeah, I'll definitely be passing on this one. I passed on the movie, but not the concept. I really would like somebody to give this concept another try. I feel like it could work in the right hands, but in the hands of the guy that directed this, and also knowing some of the other movies that he directed, is no. Um, I'm not surprised that this turned out the way it did. So I definitely will have to pass on this one, but hope to see the actual premise happen again.
And for me, it's a pass. Like, the movie that I was remembering from childhood is not this. And I've said that, like, with so many of these movies recently that it's kind of like destroying my childhood memories of like horror movies because like Tawan said, the concept is so good. Like this, if this was redone now, like this is the one movie I would be like, okay, remake. Y'all know I hate a remake, but this could use a good remake and like do it right. Like that'd be so bad. I like make it VR.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that'd be so fucking dope. Like make it
At
VR,
that point,
right?
just make Sword Art
yeah.
Online.
Right? And that'd be even more intense and it'd be so much better. It just the idea is there, the execution wasn't there, the acting wasn't there, direction wasn't there. And this is there's a reason why this is Disney's only slasher movie. But enough about this movie. We have watched it, we have reviewed it, and now I never have to see it again. But join us next week as we take a dive back to the mind of one of my favorite horror directors. We've seen most of his like big horror like accomplishments. We've seen Scream, we've seen all the Screams, we've seen Freddy Krueger, and now we're going back to one of his first horror movies, Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left, 1972, the original. And I'm kind of excited, to see one of his first horror movies, his first non-porn movie, because Wes Craven used to be a porn director, so this was one of his first actual theatrical big movies. I'm kind of excited. Is it gonna be a first for either of you of watching this movie?
Not for me.
I think yes for me. I think it's my first time.
Well, I will say, Maria, that this movie very uncomfortable. The way it's filmed and it's choppy, it looks like a snuff film, and it's very, very uneasy. And I hope you have a decent viewing experience, and I hope all of you who watch it, I hope you guys watch the movies with us, because I don't want to be spoiling our movie for you. Just watch them and then listen to us rant about them. This is a good movie to watch. And spoiler alert, this is one of the few movies that gets remade that I actually like both versions. So, join us next week. Good night. The Haddonfield Horrors podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?